Okay, so Lazarus the 60 is nearly off to the paint shop, and before we do that, we need to get these custom sliders that I want to make done, as we'll be pulling them on and off, and I don't want to mark the bodywork. So we have been covering this whole process. That'll be in a later episode about how we went about getting this thing ready for paint, and then obviously painting it. Part of that was pulling the whole plenum apart and the dash out, as we did find a lot of rust under there that we hadn't noticed before. So it has been a big process, and that's why this project has slowed up a bit. As far as doing a YouTube build goes, doing a full bodywork car and doing it to the level that I think we're doing it, I think we're doing a beautiful job, especially James. It's just not a quick process, especially when we're just doing a day here and a day there. So we're pretty proud of where we've got to so far. It's been a lot of work, but today we'll get these side steps done. It's a bit of a strange design I've got going on. Hopefully it all turns out how I want it to, but let's get into it. This one's going to be good.
What am I bodging? Oh, well, a 60 series Landcruiser. But the good news is, me and you'll be working together. The bad news is we've got a lot of work. Oh my God. See what happens when I'm not here?
I know. Okay, so this piece of 5mm steel here is going to be the basis of the side step and slider. It's designed to come out underneath the sill, about 10mm off that bottom rib, and then finish halfway up the sill itself, which will give the appearance that the car is actually higher than what it is. So I don't want to go and have to lift the car too high to get the 33-inch tyres in. I want those to fill the guards nicely, but this will give the appearance of it tucked up nice and tight, and it'll make the actual underneath of the car look higher. So that's the idea. We'll see if it works. 40 by 40 by 5mm angle. We're going to come off the gearbox cross member each side of that. That gives us 4 bolts there. And then we're going to use a clamp around the chassis at the rear, which is basically copying the design of what most sliders and sidestep manufacturers do. Now, I say slider slash sidestep because I don't really know whether it will end up a slider. I know it will definitely help protect the side of the car. Whether it can support the whole weight of the vehicle, it'll be touch and go. And look, it's not super important to us. This is not going to be a rock bouncer, that's for sure, but it will offer protection, and it's going to give the look that I'm hoping for. So we'll go about, start making some mounts up, leave them long. The idea is hopefully I can just slip these in over the top. We'll cut these on an angle so they sort of vanish underneath the car, and then we can shape the end of the side step into that front guard and keep it nice and tight, tucked up nice and tight. Should look sweet. Sweet. Okay, so we should be able to slide those steps in on top of that. The back's a little bit harder. We actually have to clamp around the chassis. So I've got a piece of 10mm by 200mm long here plate, and we've got brake lines, all sorts of shit on this side. You don't want the brake lines rubbing on these brackets. It's actually the same with your factory sliders that you buy. They don't, you do have to do this as well. So we'll space them out so we can get this piece of 10mm up behind. Okay, so we're going to do it a bit different to what most do. They usually weld their support to this side. We're going to weld our support to this side of the bracket, and then once I get it into position by tightening and loosening this bolt, which will tilt it up and down ever so slightly, we can then drill a 10mm hole through and put a bolt into this side as well. So it actually then fixes to both sides once it's all tightened up. I think that'll work really well. So we'll get a piece of angle, weld on here, and then we can actually slip the side step into position, sitting it on top of these bits of angle. Oh, right. It's not going to be easy. I didn't realise, but the sill of the car is actually curved, and it's going to kill me if I don't cut it to suit. So that's a really shitty job with a 4-inch angle grinder. So we've gone ahead and scribed a texture line all the way down to nothing. So the goal here is to keep the side step 10 mil off the car. So I've just picked 10 mil everywhere, 10 mil underneath, 10 mil off the side. I think it actually will look really good though. There's going to be a lot of work in this, because it'll be like, yeah, sweet, I've finished, and then side step. So there's 2. Awesome, so that follows the contour of the sill. I did check the other side, it's curved as well, so it's not something weird going on. We'll start shaping up the rear here. The length's good, I'm happy with the length, but I'm not sure what we're going to do with the front. But this angle here is pretty well in line with that guard. So I'm just going to take a little bit more off that bottom edge, I think. And then we're going to mark somewhere around here, wherever that comes down, and I'm going to cap that off. And then we'll continue that in underneath and cut the rest of that off, so it just doesn't look like a bit of a bit hanging in underneath there. Yeah, it's going to work well. Happy with it. Happy. Not 100% happy yet, so we'll slice a bit off that, just bring it back on a bit of an angle. Okay, so it's a new day. Yesterday afternoon we finished welding and grinding over and over again these ends, same as the front bar and the rear bar. You just got to keep going back and filling those pinholes that your welds leave. I got it to a point where I'm happy with it now, so we're going to do a final fitment to the car. When I say final fitment, we're going to weld this to the brackets that we've got attached to the chassis, or tack it in place. Then we'll pull it off with those brackets attached and fully weld them up. So we'll get this fitted to the car, and I've actually added another bracket on the other side of the gearbox cross member, so we'll have a look at that. We're going to stiffen that up completely, and I've got a little bit to add to that rear bracket as well, that when we bolt it in position, we can then put extra bolts through, so we'll explain how that's going to work. I think it'll look really good. I'm really happy with the design. It's really nice and close to the car. You only see about that much of the sill now, so it's really brought the door down, or brought the sill up. It'll make the car look visually higher. So let's get it on, we can have a look. Awesome, righto. So the angle I've left here actually just finishes in line with the front guard there. There's a lot of angles going on at the front, and then we will have a little mud flap there. So I think that'll finish off nice. We've kept it flush with the back here, shaped with the actual guard, and about 15 mil off the sill all the way around, which obviously is curved, so we had to trim that piece off. So there's a lot of work in doing it this way. I will definitely admit that. But yeah, it looks good. I'm happy. All right, so we've added another piece of angle on the other side of the gearbox crossmember here, like I was saying, but it is nowhere near the same height. The gearbox crossmember is actually stepped. I don't know why they had to do that to me, but anyway. Okay, so this is what we've ended up with to try and get it to line up with the side step with the bracket on the front of the gearbox crossmember. That's how out of alignment the bracket is front to rear. It's a real pain in the bum. I really didn't see that one coming, so we'll obviously weld those up, but that's nice and flat with the side step now. So I've got the jack under the gearbox crossmember, obviously, because I've got to unbolt all 4 bolts now. Drop it off, we'll fully weld it, put it back on again. Put these extra brackets and bolts in this back one here when we do the final fitment. Make sure it keeps fitting back on. Once it's powder coated, we don't want to have to touch it, obviously, so get her off and fully weld her up. So we've got the side step fully welded up, and we've added a little piece of steel to the rear bracket. So when we put this up, we put the rear step on and continue that hole through. So when you bolt it all in, that'll be the last bolt that goes in. It all makes sense when it's in there. So do a final fitment, leave it on, and push the car across. We're nearly into the next one, so I've got to start all over again. Awesome, one side complete. That is one side fully complete. When I do pull it off, we'll give it a full sand, but you know, it's all ground, it's mounted solidly, it's pretty well ready for sandblast and powder coat. So the trick with this, especially with all these angles at the front, the distance to the cab, the curve in the sill, trying to get the other side exactly the same. I mean, you can't see both sides of the car at once, but I'll know if it's wrong. So time to move the car over and do everything all over again. Well, side steps are done. I'm stoked with how they turned out. They're a square shape, they're tucked up hard underneath the car, and really vanishes into the sill there and makes the car seem or look a lot higher than what it actually is. That was the design we were going for, and we built them right here in STS Garage, which is what it's all about. As of yesterday, we have actually bought a vehicle for the engine to go into Lazarus. That is so exciting. We have procrastinated about that purchase for about the last 6 months. We honestly have been looking for that long. It had to be close enough to go and pick up, had to be the right price, had to be the right condition, had to be the right kilometres, and we still don't know if it's right, and I've already put down the money. So next episode, we're gonna find out if the thing's healthy and then get stuck into, hopefully, a successful engine conversion with also a special guest coming to help us, which I'm really excited about. Anyway, guys, don't forget, you do only live once. Get out in the shed, get into that project. See you next time.